Well, we do have a news alert on Scott Bessent's Senate testimony this afternoon. The Treasury Secretary making some comments on the U.S.-China trade deal. CNBC's Eamon Javers has the latest. Eamon, what do you got?
Hey there, Courtney. A couple of things to bring you up to speed on here in terms of the Treasury Secretary's testimony. He testified, by the way, for, by my count, something like 6 straight hours on Capitol Hill today in front of 2 separate committees on 3 hours of sleep after flying back to the U.S. from those trade negotiations in London. He said that as the trade negotiations are going on, he thinks ultimately, if things are going well, the Trump administration is willing to push the deadline for those negotiations past what President Trump has already said. So take a listen to how he expressed that and see if you pick up on the nuance here.
It is highly likely that those countries that are negotiating or trading blocs, as in the case of the EU, who are negotiating in good faith, we will roll the date forward to continue good faith negotiations. If someone is not negotiating, then we will not.
So a couple of open questions there. One is, what does the administration mean by in good faith? That's pretty subjective. And then what will they roll the deadlines forward to? Will there be some other deadline, date certain, in the future that we'll reset to in terms of our expectations around trade deals? Not really clear from what the Treasury Secretary had to say today, but it is clear that if they're engaged in what they consider to be good faith negotiations, then they will push forward. He was also asked in a Senate committee hearing, a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee hearing by Senator Van Hollen, on this question of whether or not the administration is willing to lower its standards around chips and rare earths, that is, to allow chips to be sold to the Chinese government in exchange for access to rare earths. And here's what he said about that.
We have been very judicious in that. So there is no quid pro quo in terms of chips for rare earths.
So the Treasury Secretary there is saying there is no quid pro quo in terms of chips for rare earth, but not really being explicit that the administration is not considering the idea of lowering the standards for exports on super sophisticated chips. So maybe a little wiggle room there, but he's clearly signaling that there's no deal in place with the Chinese in order to lower the restrictions on selling chips to the Chinese government. Back over to you.